All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Habits You Love. Today is very special. I have a good friend on, Chloe Long. Thank you for coming on. Chloe is the former reality star of a show, MTV's Siesta. She is a wife and also a business owner, has her own products, Emerald Ray Botanicals. She's a friend to so many and so much more. So thank you for coming on.
Of course. You're welcome. I'm excited.
I know. We were just talking about how we're not in our sweats on the couch talking. We're doing an official podcast interview. So I'm just excited to have this enlightening conversation and dive a little bit deeper into a lot of things. So let's get just right into it. I know you as Chloe, who I met pretty recently, say in the last 2 years. But what I'm kind of gathering is the person that I know today wasn't always how you were. What is crazy to me, because I'm like, how was she any other way? But that's the kind of the journey that I want to take everyone down today with this episode, is from reality star to starting that super young to maybe having a certain image that people are kind of portraying you as, labeling you as to this day, and take you down that journey and how you got to where you are today, between everything and life and in between. So we are going to start there. So I guess we'll just start honestly let's start with the show, because I feel like that has a lot of intertwining and to do with your life. When you started it, like where you were at the time, like how old were you? Where were you mentally? Where were you emotionally? And all the things.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And because I don't actually know this information. We haven't really talked about this. So I'm excited to hear it myself.
Yes. Well, I mean, we literally met during a yoga class.
Yeah.
So very different than who I was when I started Siesta.
And the instructor, I remember she told me you were there. She was like, oh yeah, like someone from Siesta. I was like, okay, cool. And then she was like, she said the words, she's had a spiritual awakening. So I was like, oh, cool. But I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Yeah.
With personally for you.
Yeah.
So
and what that looked like. Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know that we actually filmed the pilot 3 years before we ever started filming the show that everyone has watched.
Wow. Before season 1?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was not even 19 when I filmed the pilot.
Wow.
So I was fresh out of high school. It was like July. So like 2 months out of high school. And from my understanding, they were just telling us, like, you know, there's this show on MTV called Laguna Beach in the Hills. Don't know if you've heard of it, but MTV, it kind of wants something similar to that. And they think that your group of friends is the right target, you know? And I was like, yeah, I mean, who doesn't know who Lauren Conrad is,
or
right?
The Hills or Laguna Beach.
Yeah. Or Spencer Pratt.
It's basically my childhood.
Yeah, exactly. So we were all just like, okay. Like, I had a group of friends that I grew up with. Some of them I've known since elementary school. A lot of them were like my high school friends. And they were like, we just kind of want to film what you guys do, which involved a lot of partying and, you know, relationship drama and people intertwining, I guess, is like the most appropriate way I can put that these days. You know what intertwining?
Entanglement.
Yes.
Entanglement.
And yeah, we just like shot a pilot for a week when I was almost 19. Some people on the cast were like, I think Juliet was like 16.
Wow.
Like she was like a sophomore going into junior year or something. And no one really thought much of it. Like, I kind of had this intuitiveness of like, no, this is going to become a thing. And I don't really think anyone else did.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I even sat with the director and the owner of Siesta in a hotel room and helped him plan out the storyline. So like from day one, I had like my hands in it.
So you're a little mini director. Is your name on the thing, like executive producer of
It
Siesta?
should be. And yeah, and then we didn't get a phone call for 3
That's
years.
crazy. So it didn't get picked up for 3 years.
Nope.
What were you guys thinking during all that time?
Well, some people stopped being friends. You know, it was in the time when we were all going to college. Like Madison went to school in Texas. You know, Juliet went to Tallahassee. Alex went to school in Tampa. I was in Orlando. So we all spread out. And I stayed close with some of them, but like some of us really didn't even talk much. And then it was like 3 years later, we get a phone call and they're like, MTV has picked up your show. They'll be there in 6 weeks to film 12 episodes. And
You're
we're like,
team assemble.
Yeah.
Assemble back here.
And we were like, things have changed since we were graduating high school. And so that was interesting and bringing in a couple new people. But I mean, I was 21.
I was going to say, was everyone 21?
No, not everyone.
Okay, not everyone. Okay.
But, you know, no one drank underage or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like we were, you know, legal. But I was 21. So I definitely drank.
You're good to go.
But, you know, I was wild when I was younger, like in the sense of I would think that the people that I surrounded myself with would say, like, I was the life of the party. Like, I was the one that got everyone going. I was the one pushing everyone to drink and have a good time and all of those things. But the other side of it was that I was a troublemaker, right? And when you're going on a reality show, they kind of label each person.
There's characters.
Yeah. And it's based on who you are and how you fit in the friend group. And I didn't have like a love interest on the show because the person that I was dating off screen never wanted to be filmed. And that was my ex-boyfriend. And we were together almost all of filming until season 5. So I had, I don't know, 80 episodes where off camera, I had a whole separate life.
Yeah. So you're like an actress, basically.
Yeah.
Going into work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on camera, I was like, if I'm not going to have a love interest, I better do something.
I have to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I have to be some sort of character.
Yes, an antagonist or something to make yourself known.
Yeah,
because
relatable.
we get paid per episode. So if you're not,
if you fall off,
you're not in the episode, and that's a huge check that you're missing. So that's the way they like get you to stay like involved. Is like, you want that check, you better, you know, make sure you're involved in the current storyline.
Yeah, live up to the character that they have created for you.
Yes. And I would say like I was always like kind of like the center of my friend groups even before I filmed.
I was going to say, how much of that was an enhancement of you already? Or was it mainly like, it wasn't that far off? It was just like, oh, I'm basically just being filmed how I normally would live with a little bit of spice in there, a little bit of added drama.
I think it was like who I was naturally, but I don't think I was as much of like a let's cause problems for no reason. I think I've always been somebody that calls people on their shit. I've always been somebody that like lives for the truth. And like if I know someone's like lying or hiding, like I've always been the one to be like, no, you did say that about them.
Yeah, just calling them out.
Like I've never been someone that like pushes it. And I think with the show, like I was like, okay, I have to turn it all the way up and keep it on all the time. Which is really toxic when you're 21 and you're drunk most of the time. So then you add the alcohol into this toxic behavior. It's bound to cause a lot of stress and chaos in your life.
How long was it just fun? And then when did it turn to like, okay, this is very exhausting and overwhelming, and I don't actually like where this has gone?
It was fun until the first episode aired for the world to see.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Dang.
And I think we made the most of it. Well, it's like making me emotional.
Oh, go ahead.
It was like this crazy, like very unhealthy friendships because we were all like trauma bonded of like, we're all on this show and we all have to hurt each other. And in real life, some people are really hurting each other because there's like, relationships and people cheating. And that was like all very real. And then there's like, normally in real life, I probably wouldn't have gotten involved in stuff like that. But I'm on a TV show. I need to chime in. I need to take sides. I need to do these things is what I'm thinking. And it's what like, being on a reality TV show is. So it was like this good, bad, good, bad, good, bad for so long. I mean, like some of my best memories of my life are with these cast members of mine and trips that we got to go on and crazy things that we got to do. And most of those things were when cameras were not filming and we had a night off and we all just would get together and be crazy and wild. And then cameras go up and then now I'm having to say something about another cast member and it's going to get back to them. And then I just am putting myself in situations where I'm going to be attacked. Because at some point they're like, just as much as the producer is telling me, comment on this, pot stir this, what's your opinion on this? They're then going to go to my antagonist on the show, whoever that may be at the moment, and say, well, what do you think about Chloe? What do you think about Chloe talking about this relationship and that relationship? So it's like.
It sounds like you had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows combined.
Yes.
Mixed. And that is so hard to be in. That's like being in a toxic relationship. It's like 90% of the time he's fine or she's fine. And then 10% is like so far that way that it's like, whoa. And the average of it is toxic.
Yeah. Because there's like at any given moment, one of the cast members is like at the bottom and they're the one getting attacked. Yeah. And then at the same time, there's another cast member that's having their like peak moment and like life is good and they got a new job and everything with their relationship is working out. But you can't stay up there. No, if you watch any reality TV shows, you can almost sense during what season is somebody going to have a rough season.
Going to crash and burn, basically. Yep.
And so those times when I was at the bottom and I felt like I was stuck in the mud and like it was myself that had put myself there because I'm doing what I need to do, which is my job and create drama and talk about people. And I am doing that, but it doesn't make it like easy when like you feel like all these people are ganging up on you. And a big theme that was my storyline, so to speak, was that I'm not a good friend, one, and that I'm a pot stirrer and I'm judgmental and no one can trust me. And like, you can hear those things so many times before it like becomes your reality, right?
Well, I was going to say, at what point did you start to actually believe those things?
I think I believed it from the very beginning. Like they were like, you're going to be the pot stirrer. And I was like, okay.
But like you believe that about yourself. Even after the cameras were turned off and you went home at night, you're like, this is who I am.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to be the best at it. If I'm going to be that, then I have to be the best at it. So then there was like come season 2 and season 3 where I haven't gone back and watched anything. So like everything's kind of a blur to me of like when stuff was. But I had some pretty low seasons where it felt like me versus everyone else. And I'm sure everyone on my cast can say that there was a moment where they probably felt that same way.
With you?
Yeah. No, themselves.
Oh, themselves. Okay.
Like everyone had So I don't want to be like, I'm the only
Yeah.
victim of this, because I feel like everyone at some point felt like they're the butt of like the problem.
Yeah.
Like you're the bad seed right now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, your turn. Okay, we got through it with you. Who's next?
Yeah. Now everyone jump on
Yeah.
and push that person down too, right?
Mhm.
But come season 2 and 3, I was like, all right, like I'm gonna really be it in real life and on camera. And
Really turn it on.
And that was dangerous. I would say it's at a time where I was furthest away from myself and furthest away from God. Like it was a very dark time in my life.
Do you remember how old you were?
I would have been 22 and 23.
Okay.
I was like drinking every day, like every night, every day. I was doing drugs as well and was just so lost. And, you know, your job is like, okay, you're going to go out to lunch with Kayla, sit down. And the next thing you know, we've had 3 drinks. Well, what do you want after 3 drinks? You want to keep partying. You want to keep going. So it was very easy to get in that habit of like, well, my job is to go out and have fun. And like, once you start, now you're done filming and it's 6 o'clock, but now you're tipsy. So you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't just clock out of that.
Yeah. You don't just go home and read your Bible.
Yeah.
Which is what I needed. But it just became very lonely. And then outside of it, when I wasn't filming, I was disappearing to Colorado where my ex lived. And so 50% of the year, I was living in Colorado away from all my friends and family. And I was in a very like toxic relationship in the sense of there was a lot of abuse of like alcohol and drugs, and not just on like his part, but my part. And it's like what I needed to do was like go and get my mind right and like get healthy.
Yeah.
And it was just more alcohol, more partying, and then fighting with my ex-boyfriend all the time.
So you were able to escape the state, but you brought everything with you.
Yeah. And I didn't know anyone. I was like alone. Like he had a friend who had a girlfriend and her name is Hannah. And like, I thank God for her every day because there was so many situations I was in Colorado where, you know, blackout, fighting, screaming, getting the possibility of like going to jail and just craziness. And like she was always there. And it was like she was in the similar situation. And it's like ironic now because like she's out of that relationship too. And she's gone through a spiritual awakening too. And she's dating a DJ as well. And it's like we got out of it.
Yeah.
But
those are good moments.
Yeah.
Would you say that would you have ended up that way without the show? Maybe not fully.
I think the partying would have happened. Yeah. I think
but as bad as much.
Maybe not as much because I would have had to have a job, and I don't think there's many other jobs out there that you can be drunk while you work. I think reality
encouraged.
And encouraged. Like I don't know if there's many jobs out there where you're like can take shots while working.
Yeah.
But no, I was a party girl on and off the show. Before the show, when we weren't filming, like it was it had a good grip on me. So
that's something to say as well. It's like you don't end up like that way without a reason or on purpose. You know, so would you say that some other instances in your life took you down that path as well, like your childhood or maybe, you know, your past, some trauma that maybe you would have ended up there in a similar situation?
Yeah. You know, since all of this, I've done a lot of work, and, you know, I was raised by a single mom, and she did the best she could. My mom is wonderful. But, I was wild and I was like this. My mom's favorite story is she was in labor for 72 hours with me.
Gosh.
And then I ended up being an emergency C-section, like after 72 hours of pushing. And she always says, like, she was fighting coming into this world and she's been fighting ever since. She'll tell everyone that.
Bows up.
Yeah. And, raising like a strong-headed, opinionated, I'm 13, 14, 15, 16, I think I'm right all the time.
And you're only child, right?
Yeah. And an only girl granddaughter. So there's
a lot of factors.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of factors.
But I feel like my mom allowed, aunts and uncles and even just like friends of hers to like give a lot of opinions on how to raise me. And, my mom and I have since had conversations about this, but I felt like I was labeled by her and people around me from a young age of like, oh, that's just Chloe. She's a troublemaker.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
And it was just said so off the cuff.
Yeah, like since I was a baby, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
You're throwing those words around like, oh, Chloe's just wild.
Yeah.
She's drama. Oh, my daughter, she's drama.
Yeah. And then every time it's said, it's injected into your subconscious.
Yeah. And
then you start to actually live out those things.
I'm like, all right, I am drama.
Crazy.
All right, I am the troublemaker, It is my fault.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend, this is one of the things I told you, but my mom and I lived in Illinois till I was 7. And I had a good friend that I was with every day because my mom nannied her and her brother. And if anything would ever break, anything would ever go wrong, it was like immediately Chloe's fault. It was never like, well, did either the other two, like, were they involved in breaking the wine glass or whatever it was, or the plate? It was always just like, Chloe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it wasn't me, you know? And so I just think it's really important to watch like how you label your kids. And like, I'm not a mom. And so like, I want to be careful how I speak because I have no idea how difficult it is to raise kids. But I just know that labeling sticks with you from personal experience. And a lot of parents, I hear it so casually like, oh, well, she's our troublemaker, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such like good advice.
The like, child takes that.
Yeah. Sponge. Child. Sponge.
Yeah. And if every time you're going over to your family's house for Christmas and you're always the naughty one, then the naughty one isn't going to become the good one.
Yeah.
The naughty one's going to continue to be naughty.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying don't discipline if someone's acting out. I just think there's a way to discipline and not label.
Or shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like naturally in me. I was like, all right, I'm the drama starter, the troublemaker. And now I'm on this TV show and I'm young and I could make as much money as a surgeon. So I'm going to be the best at it possible. Yeah. And I was so intoxicated all the time. I never even remotely thought, could this have any sort of effect on me? Like there was no, when I mean no thought, there was no thought on that.
And the producers and whoever is not going to watch out for you and take care of you. And that's their job to make sure that do that. What did your mom think about all of that?
Well, that was my other kind of problem is like, my mom was just all for it. There was no kind of like,
checking in. Where's your values at? Where's your morals at? What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, no. I mean, my family certainly did that. And their attempts at reeling me in were maybe more shameful than helpful. But no, I think my mom was just so excited. She was a single mom that had the troublemaker daughter. And
That
now
turned
that's now
famous.
famous
Yeah.
and making more money than everyone's kids combined.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and your kids are just
Like,
out of college and
look
can't,
what I did.
and can't get a job. And my
Yeah.
daughter makes 6 figures and she's 22.
Wow.
And I don't blame my mom for that. Like, you know, I've talked with her. My mom is very much like me, where she has like a core group of women around her. And, you know, so I have like 15 aunties. And they all are just like, your mom just loves you so much. And she's just so proud of you, you know? And it's like, I was looking for someone, and I thought like it should have been my mom to be like, no, I'm going to protect you. No one can come for you. How dare that person on the show? I really don't want to name names, because then it's like, but it's like, let's say one of their names is Cassandra. No one's name on the show is Cassandra. But it's like, how dare Cassandra comes for you? Like, you were just trying to help her out. And a lot of times when I went to my mom with the problems of the show, it was the typical, well, what did you do? What did you say?
So she did not have your back.
No. And you actually see a few different, now that I'm remembering, there's multiple scenes on the show. I hated filming with my mom.
Oh, she was on the show?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
a few scenes, but I hated it because I just always knew that whatever I was supposed to talk to my mom about, like it was whatever drama was going on between me and Amanda or something, my mom would never have been like, well, how dare Amanda do that to you? It was always like, well, what did you do to Amanda? And some of the times I probably was in the wrong, but I just wanted my mom so badly to like have my back. And, you know, we've had many conversations about this topic, my mom and I, since. And I think she gets it. But, you know, it's still like a thing where I'm just like, you know, pick me, like pick my, and I think she just, I don't know what she thinks, but I think she just thinks she has to parent me still.
Yeah.
And be like, well, what did you do wrong? And I'm like, how about they did something wrong for once? Like, I'm not always wrong.
Yeah. So troublemaker, pot stir, partier, just getting tagged with all these labels.
Yes.
Until when? Until when was the big shebang of,
yes. So
I cannot do this anymore.
That would have been, I went to Aspen in March of 2020, right before COVID.
Yeah.
It was actually like the day we got back from Aspen. Like,
so you went for the show?
No,
okay.
But I went with everyone from the show.
Okay.
So one of the cast members, Sam, his family has a house out there, and he was dating my friend Julia at the time. So we all went out there, and I was really overweight. I was super unhealthy. I mean, drinking all the time. And drugs, and never dieting or anything, like not even understanding that like what food is bad for you or not. And just not only physically unhealthy, but mentally unhealthy. I'm like on this TV show.
After what season was that? 6 maybe?
No. We've only had 5.5.
Oh, okay.
That would have been, because we've had like parts. There's like 3A and 3B.
Oh, okay.
Instead of 3 and 4.
I've never watched it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's so that they didn't have to raise our paycheck. Every season they have to raise your paycheck so they can get 2
3Z.
Yeah, right. It would have been season 3B or 4B. I don't know when it was.
Okay.
Whenever Juliet's dating Sam, I'm sure someone that watches this can comment when it was. But it was off the show. It was in between filming, and it was after 3A. So it was before 3B.
Okay.
That's right, because I quit during 3B. So after 3A, and we're going skiing, and Sam paid for like some of us to have like ski lessons, and I just like somehow got to the bottom of the bunny hill, and like the bunny hill was connected to the main mountain, and now I'm on the mountain by myself on like a blue. Unhealthy, hasn't skied since I was like 9 years old or something, by myself in the middle of nowhere. And I always say, when God wants to talk to you, he gets you alone, you know? So I'm on the side of a mountain, and I fall really bad and really hurt my elbow. I mean, my elbow from like here to here was like black and blue. And I was in an area where like no one could really see me that was coming by. And I like had this and I'm like pulling out my phone, no service. And I'm like, man, I'm like stranded on the mountain by myself. My friends are going to be skiing for hours. It will be hours before anyone knows that I'm anywhere. Like, and it was just like a moment in probably, I don't know, years, where the only thing that I thought to do was to pray. Like I was raised in church. My family's very religious. My great grandmother was a tent preacher. So religion like runs through my family, but the second I turned 16 and wasn't forced to go, I stopped going.
Yeah.
So I just prayed, and I remember like saying like, God, like if you're out there, like I don't know how I've ended up in this situation. I'm scared, but if you're there, like, please help me. And I promise if you help me, like, I'm going to turn my life around. Like,
do you think when you said situation, you meant physically right there, or do you mean like all
I think
of
in
it?
the time physically I meant right there, but I did say like, I will, after this trip, I will get my life together. I will start working out. I will spend more time with you. I will do the things that I need to do to get healthy. And it was like in that moment where randomly, of course, a medic came by and like saw me by the trees, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No,
nope.
I can't get up."
I'm like, hello, God.
And so he helped me. He called another guy. Of course, Sam and Amanda ended up finding me on the mountain, and they're like, "You would be like on the side of a mountain with 3 medics right now." And yeah, so I got home from Aspen, and I was still dating my ex at the time, and we were living back here. 6 months prior, I had like put my foot down and been like, I'm not coming to Colorado and dealing with this anymore. Like, you're moving home. And the world shut down. And what did a lot of people do during that time? They started drinking heavily. And I didn't. I had like a week of like participating in that again. And then I was like, this is not for me. So while I was living in my house with my ex, he would be going to bed at the time I'd be waking up. He was like playing video games and drinking and, you know, what everyone was doing during COVID and like Zooming friends and whatever. And I was waking up and I was like, my friend was coming over and I was working out and I was eating right and I was not drinking and I was getting my shit together.
Wow. A complete 180.
Yes. And so quickly, like the divide between me and my ex was
naturally started
evident, like that we were going down very different paths. And I kind of put my foot down at one night and was like, he was out at a bar and I like showed up and I was like, if you don't come home, like I'm done. Like I can't do this. It's a Wednesday. Like
it's 3 p.m.
Like,
I was kidding.
yeah. I was like, we've been doing it for years. Like and he was older than me. I'm like,
it's obviously gotten you nowhere.
Yeah. And I went home and he showed up and I was like, are you staying? And he was like, no. And so that was in the beginning of June. So June of 2020, my life like has changed forever. It's one of the most pivotal moments of my existence. I mean, when he left, I mean, we were together 4 years, something like that. The next day, I called one of my best friends and I was like, I need you to come help pack everything up. I dropped it off at his mom's and I never looked back. So I was really fortunate in that because I know a lot of people that are in, that go through really toxic or unhealthy relationships really struggle getting out of it.
It takes them average 7 times to leave.
Yeah, no. I was like, this is it. And God just quickly like
intervened.
Yes, so quick. And on my grandmother's birthday, which is June 30th, I have my grandmother's name. She passed away the first day of filming the show ever. So I really always said like she went at that time so that she could go protect me because Lord knows I was in some dangerous situations filming and once cameras go down, I mean, we were
like, all right, I gotta go because I have to be over you. I can't be watching this.
Yes. And, you know, she helped raise me with my mom. My mom and I lived with her till I was 7. So, and we were just so close, like so close. And the night of her birthday, I was at home. You know, it's been about a month. I'm by myself for the first time in my whole life living alone.
Yeah, and you probably feel good.
Yeah, I feel
alone.
good. And I had been working out and eating healthy for quite some time now, a few months, and doing yoga and all that good stuff. And I was sitting on my bed by myself in the middle of the night. It was like 2 a.m. And I see like these dots, and it's very hard to explain to people because I don't understand it myself. But I saw them when I was a little girl. Like I would, you know, my mom knew about it. Pretty sure like my mom took me to like a preacher when I was like little and was like, she says she sees things.
She sees dots.
Yeah. And they're like, it's fine. She's just sensitive to like the spiritual realm. But I hadn't seen him since I was a little girl. And I mean, I had totally forgot that I had ever even saw them. And at that moment, like I felt 7 again, laying in my bed in Illinois, hearing the train. And I would lay there and I could see my dots and I would stay awake as long as I could because whatever it was, I liked it. Like I thought it was cool. And it was like, boom, here they are, red and blue, the same way they were when I was little. And I was like, what is happening? My cat, Bear, is like standing up, being like all weird cat-like. And my cat doesn't do that. Like I know some people's cats like get all funky and weird and like meow and
like arch their back.
Yeah, Bear doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So she was doing that and like was like acting like something was in the room. And I just was like, I'd been getting to know meditation. So I was like, I'm just going to try and meditate right now. I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to try and meditate. I'm not going to get scared because I remembered my dots weren't scary when I was little. So I'm not going to be scared now. And I felt my grandmother's presence undeniable. And I just heard her voice say, there's more to life than you can ever imagine. Seek for the truth and you will find the key to true happiness.
Wow. That's a long sentence. And you remember that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was evident. Wow. And just so quickly, the right people started to come into my life. And so 2 people that we know, that is how we met, Janine and Josh Martin. They own a yoga studio. They came into my life and not like, oh, I went to their yoga class. No, it was like, I'm seeing them at the grocery store. Yeah. I'm running into them walking the beach. I'm running to them at the gym. And they weren't the only people like this that were surrounding me. It was like, I had tapped into an energy that I never knew existed. And because I was in that frequency, the people in the same frequency were now surrounding me.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. I'm like, and is it like reticular brain activity where it's like, oh, they were always there, but now you're more
now
aware.
I can see them.
Yeah. Now you're more aware that they're there. Or was it like, no, they actually weren't there, but now they are? But you were also engaging in different activities than you were in the past. You wouldn't see them at a bar.
No.
You wouldn't see them.
No, I don't think I would see them at a bar.
You wouldn't see them, doing
whatever
those things.
I was doing. Yeah. And it was like the perfect time for all of this to happen because it was during COVID and we weren't filming. And not only were we like not filming, it was like, I mean, we were in Florida, so it was a little more lenient, but like you weren't really going out. Like I was hanging out with a couple friends and doing like chill stuff over summer of 2020. But it was like the perfect time for me to like go through a transformation.
Yeah, exactly. I went, that I went through mine in 2020 as well. So like you said at the beginning, you're like, people started heavily drinking. And I feel like both of us just went the complete opposite and was like, no, this is a time for healing and sitting alone and being by ourselves and working through shit that we procrastinated working on for a long time.
For a long time. And just getting healthy mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And like all of those combined and like just nourishing, your soul. I mean, I went to the beach every day for a year, walked the beach by myself. Like that Chloe, like going to the beach for an hour every day by herself, walking, meditating, that if you would have came to me at 22 and said, this is what you're going to be doing in 2 years tops, this is where you'll be, I would have been like, okay, sure. But it was like, here I was. And with that, I became a more peaceful person. And, it's like I tried to make amends with people that I had hurt. And some of those people were on our show. And, I think the ones could tell like I was really changing and I was really growing. And at the same time, I was getting sober, from drugs and alcohol. And that was an interesting time in the beginning of me doing it because I would do it for a couple months and then slip back up. But for the most part, people were like, okay, Chloe's changed.
Really doing it. And had you ever said that you wanted to change in the past? You're like, okay, so it wasn't like you've tried multiple times and people weren't going to believe that you were actually doing it.
No, it was like, it was like, I changed.
Yeah, exactly.
And people saw.
Yeah.
But I was still on a reality TV show. And
I do want to ask, what was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself during that time? What was the most like, oh, okay, like in your face, this is something I really need to work on. This is projecting onto me. This is how I project onto others. Something that you had to accept.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing and to like adjust to was like, it's no one's fault of the way I behaved, but my own.
Okay, so full acceptance.
Yeah,
and
like
ownership.
I can't blame that I'm on a TV show. I can't blame that I didn't have my mom to defend me. Like, no, like I allowed myself to behave this way.
That was the exact same thing that I had. It was like, okay, the situations I were in were only because I attracted them based on where I was currently, emotionally in that moment.
Yeah.
And it was no one else's fault.
No,
it wasn't my freaking toxic ex's fault.
Nope.
I allowed that to happen. So it's just like, complete extreme ownership of where you were in that moment in time. And now you also have the ownership of changing it as well.
Yeah. And I think the realization of I allowed myself in these situations and allowed myself to act this way because I don't know what it means to fully love myself.
Yeah.
And accept myself and forgive myself. But still working on that every day. I mean, I don't think that's like not something like, oh, you're going to go through a spiritual awakening and you'll never have to work on loving yourself ever again.
It's never complete.
No.
It's always an open-ended circle.
No. But before we started filming again, I had gotten to a pretty good place. I was sober and my closest friends and family were seeing my change. I mean, it was undeniable. Physically, I had lost like 50 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So everything was like good. And then I started filming again And
Did you go in telling them, hey, I don't want to act like that anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And they were like, we are so excited about your transformation.
Oh, no.
We can't wait to cover it. And then, of course, they went to two cast members that I've never gotten along with. And I've done something bad to one of them who has a reason to hold resentment against me, even though I've apologized. But
we won't go into that.
Yeah, we will. We'll be here for days if we try to tap into the storyline of the show. But they said, do you believe in Chloe's transformation or do you think it's bullshit? And so I think on day like 2 of filming, no. The first night of filming, our first all cast event, they had like 3 different people. I was put in 3 different situations where it was like, your transformation is not real. It's not who you are. This isn't your truth. You're just pretending. Remember what you did, you know? And I was like, oh.
Oh, shoot. Where did that make you feel mentally? How did it derail you?
No, but it was a battle that I don't think I was secure enough in my spiritual transformation to handle. Yeah. Because it had only been
it's fresh.
June to November.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I had only been sober for a couple months. And basically the beginning of season 4A, it was just kind of like nonstop, just trying to derail me. Like even I think 2 of my best friends at one point, 2 of my best friends on the show at one point sat me down and were like, we feel judged. And I was like, for what? And they're like, well, we think you think that you're better than everyone. And I remember being in that moment being like, oh my God, these people don't understand what I've gone through, you know, and trying to explain it to them makes me tell them that like, well, your actions are wrong.
Yeah. And it's so hard to navigate changing.
Yeah. Especially while there's cameras on you.
Yeah. The world is obviously watching.
Yeah.
But even just your close friend group. It's like, how do I explain this? Like I've changed and they're still right there. So how do I keep them in my life with my new life?
Yeah. And like what had happened to me was almost supernatural, right? And like, I don't know how to explain that. Like my dead grandmother came and talked to me. I mean, I can tell them that, but unless you've experienced something like that, I think 1, you're either going to think that person is crazy and making it up, or 2, you're going to think that they're weird and crazy and like maybe it did happen, but you don't understand it.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, no, I don't tap into that stuff like that.
And because of that, you've gotten sober, but I like drinking and it like pushes people's buttons of like where maybe they feel like they have to work on themselves.
Totally. Projects onto them.
Yeah. So I was like triggering everyone.
Yeah.
And like not trying to.
Now you're Chloe the trigger.
Yeah, right.
Not the pop star.
And so because of that, when the trying to push me back into old Chloe didn't work, the new thing was like Chloe is judgmental. And it was like that. There was no fighting it. So the whole cast basically pushed me away, and I was like, I can't do this. Like every time I was filming, it felt like someone new trying to attack me, and I was just like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And I don't have to.
Yeah. And I don't have to.
So tell us more about what has happened since the spiritual awakening, and obviously you're attracting better people into your life. You attracted your soulmate into your life, which is amazing. And you have to share that story.
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing is from when I decided to take a break from the show, within months, you know, I met my person. And it was amazing and wonderful. And I'm trying to like gather what timeline I'm at. But pretty much since going through a spiritual awakening, I was like, I want to find a guy.
So cute.
And I just like began to like pray that somebody that would understand me, you know, because I was like very alone. I was speaking a different language. I was on a reality TV show. No one was understanding what I was going through. No one was getting it.
Yeah.
And my friend so when I was in second grade, I read to a kindergarten book buddy. This girl was in kindergarten, and she had reached out to me and like, hey, like I'm seeing your spiritual like awakening. Like I love what you're posting. And I was like, she's like, I don't know if you remember me. And I was like, yeah, I remember you. And then like a couple months after that, she had like sent me this guy on Instagram talking. And it was just this guy sitting there like talking about don't watch the news. Like it's just fear, you know, we can't live in fear. You just got to get outside.
I think you sent me that video.
I know.
Too.
I sent it to Janine and Josh.
Yeah, you sent it to me and I was like, cool.
And they were like, who is this guy? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. But I like asked my friend, I was like, who is this? And she's like, oh, he lives out here. He's involved in the mushroom business that, you know, I was like a influencer for this medicinal mushroom company. Yeah. And she was like, he does it too. And I was like, oh, cool. So I like,
there's like 2 links already. So one link is her, then the second link is the mushrooms. And then
it's like, you're part of their team. I was like, oh, he's on. Okay, cool. So I commented on the photo and I was just like, love this, like with a bunch of hearts. And I'm sure he obviously saw it and then probably clicked my profile and was like, hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, who is this girl? And so he DM'd me and he was like, who are you? like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, nothing. Like, I don't even think I told him.
Yeah.
And we just started casually messaging. You know, I was actually seeing someone at the time. And so was he, turns out. But we had just been messaging for like 2 months. And then it was one night in April in 2021. My mom calls me out of nowhere and is like, I had a dream about your grandma. And I was like, okay. And my mom has memory issues. And she's like, you know, I never remember anything. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and I never remember my dreams. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, you know, she just wanted me to tell you you're going to meet your soulmate tonight. And I was like, okay. And she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm getting ready. I'm going out in Tampa for my friend Dylan's birthday. I'm going to like a club.
On a party bus, right?
Yeah, and on a party bus with a bunch of my friends. And she's like, well, Grandma, she said you are going to meet your soulmate tonight. And I was like, okay. So then, of course, I started getting really, really ready. And
soulmate night.
Yeah. I was like, I guess I'll look for the one guy in the club with a crystal around his neck. Like, that is literally what I thought. Yeah. And she called me back and she's like, Grandma told me to tell you. I forgot. Grandma told me to tell you it's not going to be what you think. And you need to have an open heart and an open mind. And I'm like, my mom does not talk like that. Like at all. So I'm like, this is weird. So I was like, okay, well, what I have in mind is a 6'+", blonde-haired, blue-eyed. So I guess that's not what he'll look like, and I'll just have an open mind about it. Like, you know,
that's what was going through your mind.
Yes,
like the looks part.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's my typical guy is basically someone that looks like me, but 6 foot, and a man. And so we go out, and it was such a fun night. And I was looking around all night, and I didn't see nobody. So I got on the bus early because there was like commotion going on, you know, end of a night, people are drunk. I got on the bus early and I sat there by myself on the bus. And a song.
You're like, Grandma's wrong.
Yep. A song. I was like, no, I literally said out loud, I was like, you were wrong. Like a Prayer came on, or yeah, Like a Prayer by Madonna. And that's always made me think of my grandma. And I was like, I looked down at my phone, and at that very moment, that same guy that I had been messaging, Christopher, had sent me a DM, and it was the first thing flirtatious that he ever said to me. Because we would like talk about the sunsets and stuff. And he commented on I posted a selfie, and he DM'd me about it and was like, "What a babe," with a alien emoji.
I got chills. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's not what you expected at all.
No. I thought I was going to meet him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but he doesn't live here, and he lives in Colorado. So that's where it was like, have an open mind.
Yeah.
You don't have to move to Colorado. Because I was like, I'm never going back there.
Oh my gosh.
And so within days, I was like, okay, like he's clearly flirting with me. Oh no, he said, "What a babe," with a alert emoji, and I responded with the alien emoji, which like
that's important for the story here.
Just the alien emoji. And within days, he was like, "Is Sarasota close to Naples by chance?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm actually going on vacation there in a week for my mom booked a random trip to Naples. Like, if it's not too far, like maybe I should rent a car and come up." And I was like, "Yeah, come up. Like, I'll take you out." And he's like, "No, I'll plan something." I was like, "No, you're coming to Sarasota. Let me plan something. But if you're really going to do it, like, do it." And he like responded with like his confirmation of his car booked.
And now you guys are married.
Literally. Too many synchronicities to count, but you know, he within months moved here and he started filming the show with me, and he quickly was like, "We need to get you away from this. You have outgrown this." So it's been nice to get out of the show and fall in love and get married quickly. We got married without knowing each other even for a year. And so that was like fun
He's
to
your
wrestle.
soulmate, and your grandma told you, so it's all good.
Yeah. My grandma knows, so I don't care. But yeah,
my gosh.
He's
the best. He's great. Oh my gosh. We love him so much.
Yeah.
He's amazing. Anyways, I could go into a whole other story about that. So you're married, you're obviously way settled down, you're not doing the show anymore, you just filmed your last season. Is the show continuing, or you just are not continuing?
I don't think anyone knows. I think the protocol is like they don't make a firm announcement because they like, you know, to leave it open-ended of like maybe it could come back. It to me seems like it's over. It definitely felt like an ending, but either way, like
it's ending for you.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I was done before I stopped filming the past season, but yeah, it's freeing.
Yeah.
I mean, liberating. I didn't realize how many chains were on me being on a reality show, and that doesn't take away from my cast members and the people that worked on the show, and even the people that work for MTV or my producers. Like, I love them dearly. Every person plays a role on who I am today. And like, I am grateful for the experience because I wouldn't be me, you know?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to look in the mirror and like love the person that I see.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been through all that. And the fact that I got to go through it all for people to watch, like, people can relate to me. And maybe some people hate me still and don't believe it and say the wildest, meanest things. But for every mean comment, there's hundreds of good ones. And that's what I focus on. Yeah. So
that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes is, "You cannot love yourself, but hate the experiences that shaped you." So you can't be like, "Oh, well, I hate that all that happened, but I love who I am today." It's like you love yourself today because all that happened. Yeah. So it's one of my favorite quotes.
Even the people that I had conflict with, like, I just like, I love them all because those are the people that showed me who I am the most and who I didn't want to be, you know? So I'm grateful for it all. And I'm just very grateful to be free of it. You know, you're the first person that I've like really talked to publicly, like, about maybe the show having a negative experience on me because I was still working for them. I still received a
you had
paycheck
to-
from them.
you had to keep up.
Yeah, the show's
That's
great.
great.
You wanna know about
I love filming for TV.
Yeah. No, you couldn't pay me like all the money in the world to allow my own child to be on a reality TV show. It's just, especially at such a young age.
You're already going through so much. Add that in the mix.
Yeah. And like people that are, 35 and up, where they got to grow up with no social media, and they think about what they were like in their early 20s, like almost everyone was derailed and being crazy and doing drugs and drinking and, all the things. And so like,
but imagine that for the world to see.
And it's out there
forever. Yeah. But that's all right. I think showing your transformation is actually the most important thing for people to see. Okay, Chloe was like this, and it just kind of gives people hope and inspiration that they can change as well. I think I remember telling you, like, yes, this platform is negative right now, but it also gave you a platform to also inspire people and be that inspiration of like, okay, I don't have to stay like this forever. I'm not stuck like this.
No.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is, "It's your story. Feel free to hit them with a plot twist whenever you want."
Oh, I love it. All right. We're just going to end with, what are you doing now? Talking a little bit about Emerald Ray Botanicals, because you started that company, which totally aligns with everything you do and who you are. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So throughout my spiritual awakening, one of the many things that I learned is how toxic everything is.
Yeah.
Like everything.
People, products, food.
Yes, all of it. I mean, Chris and I were talking movies, music.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it last night. It's endless. But before the show, I actually went to cosmetology school. So without Siesta Key, I was going to do hair. And I also loved doing makeup. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like the show so much is I
got to get all dolled up.
Yeah. And I would do a lot of the girls in the beginning. I mean, towards the end, we were getting professional stuff, but I would do everyone's hair and makeup for events on the show. And I remember I went down many rabbit holes, but one of the rabbit holes I went down was how toxic skincare and makeup and hair products and body care is. And women put I think it's like
200 something chemicals on their body a day. Yeah.
And your biggest organ on your body is your skin. Yeah. And it's the most absorbent thing on your body. Yeah.
Whatever you put on your skin absorbs into your bloodstream within 26 seconds average.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I learned how Europe has 66,000 plus chemicals banned that are not allowed in skincare. And in America, we allow them all still. I'm really proud to say all of my skincare could be sold in Europe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And hopefully one day it will be. But I just had this passion for skin and the beauty industry. And I was like, I want to help spread the message of healing yourself, mind, body, soul. And this just aligns with me. And it my first product was the face oil because
which is so amazing, by the way. Oh my God. It feels like butter on my face.
I mean, one of the biggest ingredients that people put that is toxic is what makes it have shelf life. Yeah. But if you put natural organic vitamin C, it gives your product shelf life for 12 months on average, sometimes less, sometimes more. So it's just
put vitamin C in it.
Yeah, there's no reason. Yeah. The thing about it is, yes, it's more expensive to make. So my face oil could cost 100 times more than something that could be sold at a pharmacy. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But
it's all so good, and I love it all.
Yeah.
The 3-step bundle.
Yep. And you can, there's little sayings on the back of the bottles.
The packaging is beautiful.
Thank you.
On the besides this, the little packages that the face oil
the
comes
boxes
in with,
and everything.
It's so cool. I keep those. I don't throw those away.
Yeah. It is no joke to create products, and anyone in the manufacturing world, whether it's for skincare or clothes or anything, it's just like a lot of work, and finding people that have the same values and the same standards as you. And that's one thing about the show is this past season when we were in Miami, I got to find our new manufacturers that are now manufacturing everything and everything that is to come. And it's just the best. And it's in glass bottles so that plastics don't seep in. And
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So here on Habits You Love, at the very end of the show, we do one last thing. We do a megaphone moment. And this is where if you had a megaphone to the world and everyone was stopped in their tracks and they looked up at you and they're like, oh my gosh, Chloe's talking, and they were able to actually take in what you were saying and apply it and practice it. That is, what do you know for sure? So hold on. You have to talk into the microphone, or you have to talk into the megaphone. Here you go. It's a megaphone moment.
Do I really have to do it?
It's not on. There's no batteries in it.
I can just pretend. I'm like, my voice is already pretty prominent.
These are our megaphone moments. So if you had one thing you could say to the world and they all took it in as a piece of advice, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. One thing? Can I have 5 things?
Pick the number one out of those 5. What do you know for sure?
What I know for sure is, oh my goodness.
Okay, you don't really have to talk into it.
Okay.
We'll put it there. There we go.
But what I know for sure is that God is real and he loves you. He loves you so much that he sent his one and only son here to die on the cross for your sins. And if you are ever struggling or going through anything, he is there for you, even in your deepest, darkest moments. And whatever journey you are on, he will meet you wherever it is. And I would not be who I am today without my relationship to God.
I love it. We will end there. Thank you so much.
I love you. This was so fun.
Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I know it's going to help so many people. So we'll put everything about Chloe in the show notes, all the links to all of her stuff. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Love you.